Hi, folks, it's Mark Merrill with Firm. Are these bills really important? Or subtitle, we should call it More Lame Spending. We have other important things to talk about than the Maine legislature's dodging of the truth. Keep piling on the taxes of good Maine citizens, hardworking citizens, while illegals get free housing. But our main story from the U.S. Supreme Court, folks, is twofold. Number one, the High Court is allowing President Trump to freeze education grants over DEI concerns. And secondly, and even more important, though, is the all law-abiding citizens of you and you hardworking people and biologically sound men and women out there. The court also handed down a late decision before our podcast to allow the continued deportation of illegals, especially members of the Triagua gangs, back to Venezuela for now, they said. More details are to come on that one, folks, but a victory for America. Now, what we want to get to right off here, of course, is the first story, as we mentioned here, about the Supreme Court allowing Trump's administration to freeze education grants over DEI concerns. It's a great one. Long coming. You know, us here at Firm, we've been saying for the last several years that DEI and ESG, and throw LGBTQ right in there with all their transgender demands, special rights, to get lost. Shut up. But the court granted Trump's request to halt the reinstatement of millions of dollars in Department of Education grants that the government targeted over concerns about DEI programs. Justice Roberts would have denied the administration's relief request, according to a document, but Justice Elena Kagan issued a dissent, as did Ketanji Brown Jackson. Surprise. The court order blocks another order from a federal judge, he said, in Massachusetts, and keeps it on hold pending the outcome of an appeal in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. Can't do that. The court indicated it may grant time or take up the case for more thorough consideration if the legal arguments involved continue. Meanwhile, deport. Get out. Mr. Trump's request was on an emergency basis and alleged that the order from the district judge Myung Jun exceeded his authority, which turned out to be true. Acting Solicitor General Sarah Harris said Jun was interfering with what she described as essentially a contract dispute that belongs in the Court of Federal Claims, not a district court. There it is, right there. So that's where that one stands, folks. As far as the one coming across the wire recently, as the Supreme Court upholds Trump's continued deportation of illegals, especially with the Triagua gang. We'll see how that continues. Hopefully more and more can get done before anything else happens, while they decide what they know, if they even know what the heck they're talking about. But as for these guys right here, the thorn in the side of the living conception of babies over the years and years and years. You know, Roe v. Wade was abolished by the federal government in 2022. Why do they keep pushing it? Because Donald Trump said, go ahead. If you want to have abortions at the state level, that's your business. The federal government's not in the business of Roe v. Wade anymore, policies or otherwise. So, in the meantime, March 31st into April 1st, the Trump administration is withholding tens of millions of dollars from bingo, Planned Parenthood right here, numbnuts. and 9 of their state affiliates that receive federal money. In the meantime, they got that letter on a Monday before the first day of April, announcing that their funding is being withheld for possible violations of federal civil rights law and Trump's executive orders and prohibitions on the promotion of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Funding is also being withheld according to the article because the organization overtly encourages illegal aliens to receive care. Now you see, you went ahead and just blew everything out of the water there, Planned Parenthood. You're not getting your way. And Bobby Kennedy's HHS department gave them an additional 10 days, which was, let me see now. We're not quite there as far as the expiration on the 10 days because it started April 1st, and we're only barely into the first full week of April. So PP has to provide evidence that it will comply with the Trump executive orders and will inform the group after that whether the grants are suspended or terminated. Politico reported that one. How accurate of them. They also said in their report on this, other providers in the federal family planning program received notices late the previous week over the weekend and on Monday about the 2025 Title X funding. The outlet reported, and many received less than half of what they requested. When Trump's first administration issued rules that banned Title X providers from referring patients for abortions, more than a dozen grantees who collectively ran more than 900 clinics nationwide quit the Title X program in protest. Even 11 state health departments and all participating Planned Parenthood affiliates did the same. Because you see, Biden's administration scrapped Trump's Title X rule in 2021. A Planned Parenthood spokesperson told Politico, though, that the network has not fully recovered. Oh, poor babies. Not! I feel sorry for them, folks. They kill babies. Before we get into another one about the topic of our podcast, about these silly bills, are they really important? Wait till you hear some of the titles in these acts. More lame spending, indeed. What we want to get to first, though, folks, is that the Maine State Auditor, Matt Dunlap, came through also on March 31st, had a post there on the Maine Wire's connection with Facebook, and said that the audit, after he had done one, made an audit of Maine's 2024 spending, found staggering corruption risks and how Mills' administration handed out taxpayer money, including federal money. The FBI, DOJ, and DOGE may have some questions. According to some viewers on Facebook, once they read it, said any Democrat with the slightest of common sense and concern for their career is starting to distance themselves from Janet Mills' wildfire. Watch how Troy Jackson turns on Janet and Shenna, meaning Bellows, as the campaign unfolds. Or Jared Golden is even panicking about the manner in which his party is handling or has handled the current situation they put themselves in. The state auditor has stood the test of time through the governorship by both parties, has nothing to gain by any further covering for Democratic responsibility. The party of the Democrats is on fire. Let them burn. Sounds good to me. Yeah, real good. Another story that we are following here, folks, is also to do with DEI. It seems on the Business Insider organization reporting on April the 6th that Deutsche Bank CEO and CEO of JP Morgan and CEO of Goldman Sachs are publicly defending their DEI programs and initiatives and say they're growing. But yours truly chimed in on that one and said, not much longer, guys. This planet, especially the United States, was formed under God's will and destiny. And no mortal, crooked billionaires who desire physical power and control against God's free will. It's formed into all humans' DNA from conception. And denial of the facts and reality and truth of God's actions will not be destroyed by these puny, money-grubbing socialists. Some others chimed in as well on the post, folks. CEOs are just managers for the investment firms that control these companies, and the boards of those investment firms are also managers for the wealth that owns them. That's true. Another poster, Peggy, said she would understand DEI if it weren't based on quotas. No qualified potential hire should be turned down based on skin color or ethnic background. By the way, she says, the Supreme Court abolished affirmative action. Hello? Are you paying attention out there? And one gentleman named Matt said, of course. I've seen the backlash that companies like Target have endured since rolling back theirs. The CEO's job above all else is to align the mission and vision of the company with popular public opinions, because that is what is in the best interest of the current and future shareholders. It is virtue signaling. That's all it is. And the people at the top of these organizations, says one last person, know that diversity, equity, and inclusion are on the way forward. Betrayal and corruption lead to fake tariffs and fake tax breaks. Well, not too sure about that one. But as we get on with it, folks, and get towards the end of what we're talking about here is, are these bills really important in the Maine legislature that they're proposing changes to? Subtitle, More Lame Spending. Talking about the deflectocrats. Which does not include this gentleman, Billy Bob Falkingham, who is the GOP minority leader in the House. So here are just some of the proposed bills coming up in the next 7 days. An act to codify judicial deference to agency interpretations. I don't even know what that means. An act to tie judicial salaries to the average judicial salaries of the other New England states. Oh yeah, that's important. An act to prohibit eminent domain on tribal lands. Tribal legislation on April the 9th. An act to prohibit life sentences. An act regarding fairness in sentencing for persons under 26 years of age. An act to limit sovereign immunity for schools and school superintendents. An act to expand landowner liability protections. You sitting down for this one? An act to expand landowner liability protections to include sport shooting ranges. An act to further protect low-impact landscaping. An act to allow electric vehicle charging stations by condominium and residential associations. Oh, they're going to get special rights? Ooh, what about the regular electric car owners? I've never heard of regular electric car owners as opposed to having or allowing electric vehicle charging stations to be put in operating order based on condominium and residential associations they belong to. Wow. Incredible, isn't it? Let's stop this nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for updates, and always check our other podcasts on Fairness in Reporting Media. As always, I'm Mark Merrill. See our podcast right here at rumble.com/fairnessmedia1. Email us anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com, fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com. In the meantime, everybody stay safe and peace to all.